In his latest address to the nation, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced relief measures to support households and businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent unrest. Government has reintroduced the 350 Rand grant to the country's poorest citizens. Government also made adjustments to the TERS relief fund for employees. State-owned insurer Sasria will also get assistance from government to process claims arising from the violent unrest recently. Corporate South Africa is also coming on board. FNB has announced relief measures for individual and business customers impacted by the civil unrest in South Africa recently. And we've got FNB CEO Jacques Celliers who joins me now to unpack more about the relief measures that they've put in place. Jacques, many thanks for your time this evening. A very difficult time for FNB, I can imagine, also having been directly impacted by the violent unrest that we saw recently, but you've taken it upon yourself to help your clients quite extensively. But before we get into those nitty-gritties, you did an analysis of the kind of impact that was affected or felt by your business and individual clients. Talk us through some of that analysis.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to the listeners. I mean, I think, on top of the challenges that everyone is facing as a consequence of the pandemic, clearly this is an additional challenge and a major ask from the broader financial sector to come together to support communities, especially in those local communities where infrastructure was so dramatically impacted. So I guess our analysis shows that both at an individual level, where people will be impacted now by, again, disruptions to their personal income, as well as in the business side, where businesses now need to deal with, either just getting going and trading again a bit with a bit of restock, but also then to fundamentally rebuild, because many of that infrastructure would be damaged. It will take months to rebuild properly. And so our challenge is to support those communities on all these fronts. So we started as an industry just to focus on all of our own infrastructure, getting our ATMs back on track, kicking our branches off into rebuild phases to make sure that those communities have infrastructure to support their economic activity. And then the next phase now is for us is to go into the relief measures into our clients, both short-term and long-term solutions. And there's a lot of innovation.
Yes, apologies for stepping in there, but I was just about to say, you've mentioned quite a bit of intervention or relief measures that you will be implementing to your individual and business clients. Too many for us to go through in this interview, but some of the ones you deem are the most important, the ones that will give the most relief to your clients.
Yeah, so similar to what we did in the first wave of the pandemic, where we knew that people were just not going to have income. So we've got some payment relief measures, and so we allow people some holidays for those who apply for it, and then obviously those who are customers on good standing, and to help them just to navigate the restocking of the environments. It's important for us to get economic activity back on the ground, for trade to happen and for distribution to be able to have offset. So that's offtake rather. So that's a big theme for us. And then clearly that allows us a bit of breathing space to get all the insurance activities going. Now, we have two sets of clients, those with insurance, which clearly, we want to help facilitate speedy insurance claim processes. And fortunately, the insurance industry and sector is also coming together to have innovations about speedier sort of claims processes and getting to conclusions, so that we can use those insurance proceeds to facilitate further credit extension, which clearly people will need to rebuild their infrastructure environments. And then on the personal side, we've made sure that people impacted on the communities where ATMs, for example, would have been burned down, that we've as an industry, broader industry, of waiving all the SASWICH fees, so people can use each other's ATMs in the different banks, just to make sure that they don't get this inconvenienced on that front. And similarly, also expediting all the insurance claims, loss of income, credit life protection. So there's a big range of programs in play for our customers at the moment.
Yeah, one important intervention, Jacques, one would say, is the payment breaks that you would be offering your customers. This was done previously as the pandemic took off, but maybe talk us through the duration of this payment break that you'll be offering your customers. And also, just as a reflection, did you find that when the break came to an end previously, customers were comfortably able to get back on the bandwagon and continue with their obligations with FNB?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's well documented that there's some sectors in the country that bounced back quite quickly, and some sectors are still taking a bit of strain. If you think, for example, some of the tourism sectors are still struggling. So it depends where the customers, which sectors they were employed by. But many of our customers that we granted relief to have actually been able to readjust and adjusted their lifestyle, expense a bit, and were able to get back on track. So we made a plan B for some additional income. So that actually turned out very, very well for us last year. We were able to help a large portion of our clients to get through that pandemic. So we always do client-based remedies. Some people just need a month or two of relief and payment break, and some needs a bit longer. But on average, sort of a 2 and 3 months is probably where we're going to end up with most of the relief measures. That allows people that little bit of breathing space just to get themselves reconfigured. The most important thing for us all to do is to get those communities stable, and our commitment really is to put our infrastructure back, to make sure we fix the damage, we paint the walls, we put new infrastructure back. And we get from the sort of war zone into safe zone and opportunity zone very quickly for those communities, so we can see long-term investments going back in there.
Right, and of course, finally, Jacques, long-term investments would be linked to the pace of our vaccine rollout, policy certainty, and that all goes to boosting the economy through investment. Just your view, as someone who operates in the space of corporate SA, the pace of the vaccine rollout, is it encouraging local and global investors to look at South Africa as a potential destination that will yield some good results in the medium to a long term?
Yeah, I mean, before the unrest, I mean, I think we were very, very pleased with the bounce back of the local economy. Look, it was always going to take a few years to build it back to where it was, and then obviously going to hopefully depend and rely on a lot of the interventions that the government's working on policy adjustments. But from a vaccine program perspective, while we were a little bit slow out of the blocks, I think it's quite promising to see the pace at which those programs are maturing, and hopefully the communities at large really take that up, because ultimately you can see globally where those vaccine programs have matured, just how incredibly sort of back to normality that the streets are feeling, and that's what we really need in our societies, that we really get back to normal. And we're missing the real world, so looking forward to that.
Very interesting insights from you indeed, Jacques Celliers, who's the Chief Executive of FNB, talking us through some of the relief measures that they've had to introduce to help those clients and businesses that were affected by the looting, Sally. So very